Hello there, Internet. My name is Ed. This is a story about my weight loss journey. I'd like to tell you a little bit about who I am and how I got here. When I first started off, I was weighing around 375 pounds. I was in a size 56 jean. I wore shirts that were between 3 to 4X. I hurt a lot. Any movement that I did took substantial amounts of effort. And I didn't quite care for the way that people looked at me. So let me tell you about where I'm at today. I'm under 200 pounds for the first time in my adult life. I'm currently weighing in at around 184 pounds, which is around 83.4 kilograms. I haven't been this small since I was in my probably mid-teens. Actually, I don't even know if I was actually really this small. I was always a pretty heavy-set kid. At the moment, I'm in a size 32/33, depending on the cut. So I'm I'm in a really small jean size. This is specifically a slim cut that I'm wearing at the moment. I've never been able to wear slim cuts before. I'm wearing small to medium. This is actually a small. As you can see, there's quite a bit of room in it. It just, again, depends on the cut. But most importantly, I'm feeling good in my own skin for the first time, which is very important for me. I'm the healthiest that I've ever been in my life. My blood pressure is perfect. The doctors are always astounded by how good it is. Usually it's between 106/70 up to 110/75, something along those lines. My cholesterol is spot on perfect. And most importantly, I'm not considered obese or even overweight anymore. I'm considered average, which is a very new thing for me. I've been obese most of my life, yeah, even as a kid. So I'd like to take just a few moments just to cover what's worked for me on this journey. But before I do that, I want to cover a few key points. The first is that I am in no way, shape, or form a dietitian. I have not studied for this. I have talked with a dietitian to make sure that things that I'm doing are correct, but I am not a dietitian myself. I'm also not a doctor. Nothing that you see in these videos should be taken with anything other than this is me telling you about my experience. My goal is to help you see the challenges that I have faced and what can be done for you to start your own personal journey. I highly recommend going and seeing your own doctor, getting a recommendation for a good dietitian. And because these are essentially stories of my own experience, what may work for me may not work for you. For example, my metabolic rate was kind of screwed up, which is one of the reasons why I had to drop my calorie intake so low. That is a very specific thing that's very specific to my journey. I also highly recommend ignoring expert advice that you find on the internet. That includes anything that you hear from me as well. Just because you find it on the internet doesn't make it true. A lot of the reasons why I'm producing this video as well as future videos, or at least the plan to produce future videos, is specifically because everything that I saw on the internet was, people who are buff and jacked and were trying to give you weight loss advice. I'm coming at you as someone who's been there. My goal ultimately is to provide the information that helped me get started, the pitfalls that I encountered and so forth, so that at least that information is out there for others who may encounter something similar. If anything, just for the motivational aspects. It's about helping others. I really just want to make sure that everything that I've done is not just for myself, but I want to make sure that I can help as many other people as possible in a similar journey. Everyone has their own journey. My hope is that I'm here to be able to help you become motivated to start that journey. More importantly, I know you can do it. Weight loss is an interesting problem to solve. You didn't gain all of the weight all at once. You gain weight over time, which means that when you're thinking about weight loss, you have to be thinking about not in the here and now, but what you will potentially look like in 1, 2, or 3 years down the line, depending on the amount of weight that you're looking to lose. When you start thinking about it in in the terms of years versus months, that seems like such a long time. And in a lot of ways, it may not seem that obtainable. The reality is, it absolutely is. I set multiple targets for myself. I wasn't saying, all right, I'm going to get down to 180 pounds and be done with it. I honestly didn't know. So instead, the approach was, I'm going to have a high target and a low target. The high target being 200 pounds. I wanted to be technically at 199 pounds. And as far as I know, or knew at the time, I was planning on stopping there. But then once I actually hit that, I wanted to make sure that I had yet another attainable target. In addition to setting the 200-pound target, I set a target for 180 pounds. And I'm pleased to say that I've almost hit that target. I'm roughly 4 pounds away from it as the recording of this video. I plan on hitting that goal probably within the next month. To be perfectly honest, weight loss during the holidays just really isn't a thing, but that's a whole separate video. So let's go back to the beginning of my weight loss journey. So I've tried losing weight many, many times over the years, and it's really not been very successful. I've tried multiple diets over the years, and some examples are the 4-day diet, the keto diet, fasting, just walking in general exercise, and finally what ended up being the real for me is the reduction of calories, which I'll dig into more later. But getting started was really, really difficult. You really have to train your brain for this new concept of eating, and you're used to, taking in far too many calories, and getting your body and your brain used to that reduction in calories is actually really difficult. So what exactly was it that allowed me to make the decision to be able to move forward to lose 192 pounds? Well, the biggest factor, hands down, was my wife. She had gotten up there quite a bit in weight, to the point to where I was constantly worried that she could die at any given day. And that really put a strain on me, caused me a significant amount of anxiety. I was really just worried every day that she might die. I might wake up and she'd be laying next to me dead. Fortunately, she made the necessary changes in her life that allowed her to lose the weight necessary so that her health would improve. And I'm happy to report that she's been very successful with this. She's lost, I think, around 220 pounds. In turn, I was motivated to lose weight as well. I decided to see what I can do in order to try to lose and meet my goals as well. So let me tell you a little bit about the approaches that I took into my weight loss journey. I've tried many, many different approaches over the years, and nothing really worked. I always put the weight back on after a period of time. I would lose weight, but then over time I would get bored, or there'd be a stressor in my life that would cause me to eat more. But ultimately, the weight always came back. And eventually I just realized diets don't work. And I think the people who tell you that diets do work are people who are essentially just trying to sell you something. So it's really about changing your lifestyle. It's not about trying to follow a fad, but to look at yourself and the things that you're doing and the improvements that you can make in order to be able to get and achieve the change in your life that you actually are looking for. And honestly, a lot of people think that it's all about food, but that's just not true. Food is only part of the equation. Your mental health has a lot to do with it as well. I decided to take the approach of using calories in and calories out instead of trying to go through fancy diet fads. So why specifically did I feel like that this approach would work versus every other approach that has essentially failed in my life? There's a couple key reasons why I felt like this would be fairly successful. First and foremost, I've seen it work. I've seen it work on friends, I've seen it work on family, I've seen it work on my pets. But most importantly, this was the process that was recommended by both my doctor, my PCP, as well as my dietitian. And more importantly, if you don't have a dietitian, you should really get one. That really helped me understand the things that I'm potentially doing wrong, and was able to help me and guide me to making the improvements that I needed in order to be able to lose weight successfully. I did very well with my calorie restrictions. I lost weight. I was seeing 1 to 2 pounds on a given week. The progress that I was making was exceptional, and I was very happy with what I was seeing in the mirror. Your brain is absolutely going to just crave food. It's very much like a drug. You will have withdrawal symptoms, and it will be uncomfortable. You'll need to ignore the cravings, though. The way that I solved this problem was when I was feeling very hungry, even though it wasn't time for me to eat, I would drink a big glass of water. And usually by the time I got done with drinking, I was pretty much satiated. Food is a level of comfort for me. It's where I've always gone whenever I was stressed or I was bored or wanted something to do. My go-to especially has been sweets. This is things like ice cream, donuts. In turn, I would also use sweets as a method of eating away my sadness. It wouldn't be uncommon for me to eat an entire pint of ice cream or go and buy a whole sleeve of donuts and just go through those. So as a result, it's really important to understand what things end up triggering you and to avoid foods when are in situations and where you might be triggered. But it's also impossible to avoid all triggers. So you really need to get to know what triggers you and work to avoid those things as much as possible. It doesn't mean that all of this was easy. Over the past few years, I've had tons of setbacks for a number of reasons. COVID simply didn't help at all. I've had loss in my life between family members, pets. It's made it really, really difficult. Essentially, I learned that I really have to stick to my guns. However, the biggest problem that I ended up coming across was I had a plateau that lasted for over a year. It started around November of 2022, and I wasn't able to break it until March of 2024. During this time, I was concerned there could be something wrong with me, something physically wrong. So I had regular checkups with my dietitian. I had tons of blood work done. Everything came back normal. Essentially, there was not a single issue that was discovered as a direct result of me having all of this blood work done, which is great. It meant that I was healthy, but something else was wrong. So after the blood work was complete, I talked it over with my dietitian, and we decided maybe my calorie intake was too high. At this point, I was taking in roughly 1,800 calories a day, and we decided to drop it down to 1,550 calories to see if that would make a difference or not. Unfortunately, that plateau still stuck. I thought dropping 300 calories a day would make a significant enough difference, but it didn't. And so I continued to work with the dietitian, work with the doctor, just to make sure that there was nothing wrong with me. In March 2024, I kind of had enough. It had been well over a year. I hadn't seen any movement on the scale whatsoever, and decided I was going to take rather drastic actions. It's either me or the approach that I'm taking to my weight loss. So I set a goal for 1 month. And during this month, I decided I'm going to reduce my calories and restrict my calories further. So I went from 1,550 calories down to roughly 1,000 to 1,200 calories in a given day. I also cut out all non-essential foods. And so this is things like coffees, desserts, anything that would add extra calories to my diet. This also meant no more sugars or any more simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates were still okay, but also I made sure that the quantities there remained low. And wouldn't you know it, after a week, I started seeing changes. I started seeing weight loss. And after a month, I had lost about 5 pounds. My plateau was 100% broken. So at this point, I reached back out to the dietitian and I made sure that she was aware of the changes that I made, what the further calorie restrictions look like. And we met, and so that A, she could see my progress, but B, just to make sure that I wasn't doing anything that could damage myself. After telling her the kind of food intake that I was managing, what my daily calories were looking like and so forth, she agreed that everything looked fine, that I was not in danger, but if I were to go any further down, that she would need to make sure that she was involved and helping me through that as well. But given that I had already seen a significant amount of weight loss in such a short period of time, I was fairly confident that I was doing exactly what I needed to do. So thinking back on the 1,550 calories a day, I realized, you know what, I was actually probably taking in more calories than I realized. And this is where I really started to think about the coffees. Going to Starbucks or making coffees at home or even just having sweeteners in my life in general, you don't really think about those having a significant amount of calories. After going back and doing some math, I realized I was actually taking in probably an additional 300 to 400 calories more on any given day than what I actually realized. One of the big lessons and takeaways of this plateau is that just because you think that you're taking in the proper amount of calories doesn't actually necessarily mean that you are. One of the bigger things that I've learned over the past couple of years is that I really need to avoid the scale. Scales lie. And it's not that the scale is telling you the incorrect weight, but things occur in your body naturally which end up making the scale either telling you something that isn't necessarily true. Humans have, between 2 to 4 pounds of water weight that fluctuates on a regular basis. And so if you're getting on the scale every day, you're going to see that thing going up and down like crazy. So as a direct result, scales just simply are not a true way to ascertain your weight loss. What I usually end up doing is I use my clothes to tell me if I've seen any weight loss or not. Another thing that I end up doing is I take regular photos of myself, and that tells a significantly better story than a scale ever will. But with that said, it's also important to be able to track your progress over time. More specifically try to weigh roughly twice a month, usually in the middle and at the end of the month, so that I can get a general idea of what my progress looks like. So I had a significant number of milestones that really helped me stay motivated through this process, and even during the plateau, because I wasn't interested in losing everything that I had gained. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the things that occurred that kept me motivated throughout my weight loss. The first is pant size. Going from a size 56 down to I went from a 56 to a 50, then a 46, 44, 42. I stayed in the 44, 42 range for a period of time, and then dropped to the 40s. And really, because of the plateau, between 42 and 40 is where I stay for roughly a year. And then with the breaking the plateau, I was in a size 38. And then all of a sudden, I'm in a size 36. And it's like this whole new world opened. I was in a size 36 for the first time as an adult. It's like the world opened up for me. I was able to go to stores and buy pants that were fitted just for me. And it continued as I went down from a 36 to a 34, a 34 to a 33/32, which is what I'm currently in. It's kind of crazy. I can go to any store, I can buy any size pants that I want, and they're going to fit. I'm considered an average size now when it comes to my waist. I had always bought really baggy clothes in order to hide my body, my waist, and I don't have to do that any longer. It's a very, very different experience for me. And going out and buying slim cut jeans for the first time really changed my perspective. I feel like that I actually look good in clothes now. You actually have to understand how big of a mental change that this was for me. I hated going clothes shopping. I hated going into a store because there was always that anxiety of, is this thing gonna fit? Honestly, most times things didn't fit. I would have to go to specialty stores in order to be able to find things that fit, and that makes you feel even worse. So then that leads to the next question is, what's the smallest size that I'm going to get down to? And to be perfectly honest, I kind of think I'm there. I only have 4 pounds left in my overall goal. My high-end weight loss goal was 200 pounds, and my low goal was 180 pounds. So I'm 4 pounds away. I'm at 184 at the moment. I'm looking to hit 180 pounds. But there's another problem I hadn't taken into consideration, which is I have bones. I'm at a point to where when I press on my hips, there's just nothing there but hip anymore. There's no fat and cushion anymore. So I really can't go too much smaller on my waist size for the size of individual that I am. So let me tell you a little bit about jean sizes and going down. And it's not even just jean sizes, just pant sizes in general. Your belt is an amazing way of keeping track of your weight loss. As I was losing weight, I realized that I ran out of holes. And so this meant that I had to go and buy another belt. I ended up buying belts that you can actually trim the end off of and put the buckle back on. It usually has a clasp or clamp or something like that on the end. What was really cool about these belts is that they have the ability to go through this little snap or fastener, and then that fastener can just kind of zip and hold the belt in place instead of it going into an individual hole. So this meant that I was able to adjust the belts as needed. So what was really cool about this though is that eventually my belt got to the point to where it was wrapping around to my backside. My belt was far too long. And so going in and being able to cut off 3 inches here, 2 inches here, or even just taking a belt that I hadn't worn in a while and take off a full 8 inches off of that belt was just an absolutely fantastic feeling. So as I mentioned earlier, shopping for clothes used to be a very uncomfortable thing for me. It's still kind of true now, but nothing like what it used to be. Mostly it's because I've been losing weight, and I know that when I buy clothes today, that there's a very high probability that I will not be in those clothes within another month or two. And so you kind of have to change your brain up a little bit and think about buying for just the near term and not buying in any kind of quantity. As a matter of fact, literally just 2 days ago, I had to go through the closet and drawers and just get rid of all of the clothes that no longer fit. For example, where I'm in the size 32, 33 jeans, I had to get rid of shorts from the summer that were 34s, 36s, dress pants that were 36, 38s, jeans that were, 36, 38s. I'm never going to wear those again, so I have to donate them. But what really is interesting is I had to keep these for just a handful of months and end up donating them, and then just go and buy more pants. While I may be losing weight, which is fantastic, and I may be eating less food, which is saving me money, there's actually a hidden cost here that I hadn't really thought about beforehand, and that is, how do you keep yourself in clothes while you're losing weight and you know you're going to be losing weight? And that's another topic I plan on covering in another video in the future. But here's another thing about weight loss that a lot of people don't really talk about, which is your shoes don't fit anymore. When we gain and lose weight, we're gaining and losing weight everywhere. So it's not just in our hips and our waist and our face, but it's also in our feet. So as a direct result, you don't realize it, but you're losing weight in your feet as well. This also meant that I lost height. So at the very beginning, I was between 6'1" to 6 foot. And now I'm sitting at about 5'11". So I've lost roughly 2 inches in height as a direct result of my weight loss. Very unexpected. And because I've lost so much weight, that means I've also lost padding, particularly in my butt. So sitting for places for a long period of time, at max, I could do roughly 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how hard the surface is. After that, I have to stand up, walk around. It's like I've lost all feeling in my rear. It's a very uncomfortable experience. Something else that was really surprising for me, and I think it's just because of the amount of energy that I have now, just due to the weight loss, but also the exercise as well, is that I am very restless now. I have energy. I want to get out and do stuff. So I used to really just enjoy sitting and vegging out, not doing a whole heck of a lot. Now that just seems like a waste to me. I want to get out. I want to do more. I go outside. I walk. I run. I bike. I go on trail hikes. I do things that get me outdoors more. It's the most that I've ever spent in an outdoor setting in my entire life. How has my life changed, both mentally and physically? Well, first and foremost, I've never been happier. Just as in my adult life, with all of the stress and anxiety that I've had for many, many different reasons, this is one less thing for me to ever have to worry about. And I look in the mirror and I'm happy with what I see. As a result, I think much more positively about myself. I don't look in the mirror and think of myself as being dumb or stupid or have an inability to achieve any kind of goals. If anything, I know that I can achieve anything that I set my mind towards now. Probably one of the biggest changes, though, is that I'm not ashamed to be seen in public. I like going into the public now. I like showing off how small I am now. Um, I don't necessarily think of it as an egotistical thing. It's just I hid myself for so long. Being in the public and having other people see me is a really different experience. And more importantly, I'm not putting on layers of clothes so that people, don't actually see me. Instead, I wear, clothes that fit, and I feel like I look good. As a direct result of the weight management, and not necessarily the weight loss specifically, but also exercise and lifting weights, I feel just significantly better overall as a direct result. The most interesting thing is that I have muscle now. I never really had muscle before. I mean, I had muscle because I had muscle where I needed to be able to, hold my massive amount of weight up, but I never actually had muscle for the sake of just exercising and having muscle. So apparently, I have very impressive calves now. I've been told this on multiple occasions. So that's a very nice feeling, is that people not only notice, but more importantly, are feel comfortable and confident enough to tell me, hey, those are some very nice calf muscles that you have there. I'm also incredibly veiny now. I have veins in places that I've just never seen veins before. I have, in my head, because my head shrunk as well, legs, feet, everywhere. I'm just a very veiny person as compared to what I used to be. I have a shirt on, a long sleeve shirt, so I can't really show you, but I have biceps now. They're strong, and I feel like I can lift things. And I guess that's because I can. I can push almost 100 pounds on the bench press now. I can also do easily 100-pound leg lifts. Simple things like that, given a year to 2 years ago, I would not have been able to claim whatsoever. It's a very surreal experience. What have I learned on my weight loss journey? First and foremost, the old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, is absolutely true when it comes to weight loss. I did not, in any way, shape, or form, gain all of my weight overnight, nor should I ever expected to lose my weight overnight. It is a journey. It took years to put on 375 pounds, and as a direct result, it would take about as long, in my case, 3 to 4 years to take off 375 pounds. So it's about understanding that it's going to take time, and you will get there eventually. It's not something that you should ever look at and expect, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in a couple months. That's incredibly dangerous. You should be at max losing 1 to 2 pounds a week, no more. Anything over that, it's far too easy to put it back on. Probably the biggest takeaway that I'm hoping anyone gets from this is that it is a process. There is no such thing as immediate and fast weight loss. It is a journey, but you'll get there. All you have to do is just be persistent. And most importantly, you're allowed to fail along the way. You're allowed to plateau along the way. You're allowed to gain a couple pounds back. That's perfectly fine, as long as you stay motivated and work towards the actual goals, working towards that loss. That's perfectly fine. Plateaus can and will happen. The main thing you have to understand about a plateau is that eventually you're going to get to a point to where the amount that you're taking in is no longer sufficient for you to continue your weight loss. As a direct result, it probably means that you need to reduce your calorie intake, or you're potentially taking in more calories than what you realized. This is where a dietitian really comes in handy. Being able to talk to someone and figure that out is essential to being successful in a weight loss. Don't weigh yourself. Use other metrics to be able to understand if you're losing weight. See your clothes becoming more loose. We have this problem where we don't give ourselves enough breaks. It's easy to forgive other people, but we rarely forgive ourselves. And this is highly problematic. We are human. We will make mistakes, that we will slip up, and that's perfectly fine. Here's the things you have to remember. You deserve to be happy. Bottom line. You deserve all of the happiness in the world, no matter what anyone else ever says to you. You also deserve to be in good health. You deserve not to hurt when you wake up in the morning or get out of bed or move around or be out of breath. You deserve to go outside and tackle the world. You deserve to look in the mirror and be happy with the person that you see staring back at you. Now, I will tell you, there's a whole video that I have planned about what you see in the mirror and body dysmorphia. Just be aware that when you look in the mirror, you should be happy to see what's there and the person that is staring back at you. That's a perfectly fine thing. It's not egotistical, it's just being happy with the results and the work that you've put in. While I've had a ton of success with my weight loss, especially over the past year, It's not been all unicorns and rainbows, and I don't want to give any impression that it is just an easy trip, because it's absolutely not. There's a lot of work that has to be that goes into it, but there's also just a lot of things that you may not even realize that really you should be taking into consideration as part of it. So I mentioned briefly about loose skin. There's a video that I'm planning on putting out in the future about how I'm working to solve the loose skin, because there's several different approaches that I'm taking. But it's also about the clothes that you're buying and how those clothes fit and what can be done, and to be able to solve and be able to not have your loose skin be a problem. This is the first video. I'm planning on tons of videos in the future, because I really want to document this experience to try to help as many people as possible. The goal is for me just to sit here and record some interesting videos, and so that you can in turn learn something from my experience, potentially ask questions down in the comments. I'm happy to respond, potentially even get responses from other people who have gone through similar things. My goal is to bring a community together. What really drove me to make these videos, because to be perfectly honest, this is incredibly uncomfortable for me to do. This is not my forte. I'm an engineer. I'm an introvert by nature. I feel like that I've done something fairly significant here, and my goal is to try to help as many people as I possibly can. Even if that's just one person, that's better than zero. I just want to be there as someone who has gone through this and who can help relate and help provide the proper motivation for someone who's, maybe ready to get started but is unsure where or how to get started. And I'm here just to try to help other people. If I've been able to do this, I know anyone else can do it. I mean, 375 pounds is a lot of weight. Being at 184 pounds, I thought I would never get here, but I've achieved it. And I know if I'm able to do this, anyone can do it. And there's another video that I'm planning on doing in the future that it's really a video about things that no one really talks about when you are dealing with weight loss. And one of those things is skin, and what happens to all of that skin when you go through a significant amount of weight loss. I've had some really interesting issues with this, as has my wife. Does that mean that it wasn't worth it? Absolutely not. I would do this 100 times over again, but just be aware, there's some issues when it comes to having to deal with loose skin after weight loss. Okay, folks, that's it. Thank you. If you've made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you being here with me. I have a lot of plans for doing some very interesting things on this channel in the very near future, as well as just some long-term plans as well. I hope you'll consider joining me on this journey and potentially consider subscribing. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.